Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Weekly Sports Podcast for February 20th, 2025. A little bit early this week, posting on back-to-back days. But if you prefer, you can wait and listen to this podcast on Friday. We just had scheduling that necessitated an earlier posting, and I didn't want to leave you in the lurch with no episode. So this episode is jam-packed. We got a new competing soccer league in the United States, bringing in our Swinging at Shins team to cover that. Then Ryan and I talk about Victor Wemby being out for the rest of the regular season due to a blood clot and what that means for the San Antonio Spurs. And then tonight, we got Team USA versus Team Canada to conclude the Four Nations face-off. Chris Uminski and I talk all about that and the first game where there are a lot of fights. Will there be a lot of fights again tonight? We'll have to wait and see. Check out that segment to see what Chris thinks. So let's get right into it. Hey everyone, welcome to, I guess, kind of a Swinging at Shins mini segment here on the Wicked Sports Channel. I'm joined by Rhett and Aaron, the fantastic hosts of our spinoff podcast, Swinging at Shins, which is primarily covering the Premier League. But today, we're talking about U.S. soccer, something that hasn't worked yet, but we're hoping one day it really will. First of all, guys, how are you doing?
I'm not bad. Can't complain. How about you?
Yeah, doing good.
Haha, you're muted, nerd. Yeah,
there you go. I still can't hear you now, though.
That's it can only support
maybe
one.
StreamYard. Yeah, maybe StreamYard.
Could be.
Still can't hear you.
It somehow lost every. It took me off my mic. Anyway, do we want to restart real quick?
Yeah, I'll do a restart. Everyone, welcome back to, I guess, a Swinging at Shins mini episode for the main channel. I'm joined by our fantastic host of Swinging at Shins, which is our spin-off podcast of Wicked Good Sports, primarily about the Premier League. But today, we're going to be talking about U.S. soccer, something that hasn't worked yet, but we're hoping it will. How are you guys doing?
I'm not bad. I can't complain.
City's losing 3-0 to Real Madrid right now to get knocked out of the Champions League. I'm doing fantastic.
All right.
Life cannot be better. I love watching this. It's 6-2 on aggregate right now, and I'm a happy boy.
Plus Liverpool drew, so.
Plus Liverpool drew. Things are looking up.
Oh, man. Well, to bring it back across the pond to the United States, for those of you who don't know, we have the MLS here. Not the most popular soccer league in the world, obviously, but one that we're hoping could grow. At least the game will. And now they have some competition and potentially a new pitch. Red, do you want to kind of explain what the thinking is here?
The thinking is we're the only country in the world that doesn't do promotion and relegation. Let's fix that. The thinking is also that, so to give just a little bit of background, right? The USL and how the USL has been formed has been around for a very long time. The reason why MLS became the premier, and for those of you listening, I am doing, air quotes, the premier soccer in America, is because it got the backing of a bunch of NFL owners. So they went, oh, all right, we got guys who are going to inject all the cash we need. We're going to make it work. But then they ran it like the NFL, and it hasn't worked for a lot of reasons. One of the reasons why the NFL works is because if you are the best American football player in the world, we're going to go play for an NFL team. Same reason why baseball can get away with the same thing. If you're the best soccer player in the world, you're not going to come to the MLS and all its rules. You're going to go get paid. And that could be in Europe, and when you're in Europe, it's like everyone likes to say it's Europe. It could be in the Premier League or the Bundesliga or Serie A or La Liga. It doesn't matter, but that's where you're going to go get paid. The MLS doesn't play by those rules. And what the USL is trying to do here is align themselves better to be able to get better talent in. One of the ways they're doing that, the big news is promotion and relegation.
So, Aaron, do you think promotion relegation is something that could work for Americans where we are not used to this style of, if you were for the Dolphins and they suck, which they have a lot in my life, they're still going to be in the NFL next year. Mm-hmm. But, they're not going down to the USFL or the UFL or anything. They're staying in the NFL. Do you think Americans will adapt to this and like it if we were to implement it here?
I think there's a niche market for it. I think the super fans who are already used to it will adapt to it. I think that it will be a struggle for the casual fan to get behind promotion relegation, seeing your favorite team getting dropped down to the next division, and then on top of that, trying to find and watch them is another on TV. I mean, is another level as well, because that's the thing that happens over in Europe. You know, they don't always get the highlighted Premier League games or the spots. So I think it's gonna take some time for them to actually come around to a promotion relegation. I also think that the businesses are going to have a hard time coming around to promotion relegation too, seeing your squad who you've poured a ton of money into getting relegated at the end of the season and now also losing revenue because you're not getting as much coming in from the top as you were getting going down.
So I have something I want to add to that. He's 100% right with everything he said, but I don't think that we're looking at it the right way. Brian, where do you live?
I live in Massachusetts.
Okay, not anywhere near Miami. I
No.
live just south of Albany, nowhere near
Yep.
Foxborough.
Right.
Aaron, technically, sorry, Aaron, you still don't really live in the same state as your football team, but
No.
you are still in New York, right? None of
Yep.
us are within a 2-hour drive of the football team. Brian's not even within a 2-hour flight.
Flight, yeah.
The first thing that we did when our like local area came out, what league it would be in, is everyone, oh my God, that's Worcester. That's right next to us. Oh, that's right next to, Aaron and I brought up, it's Albany, Rush is in Schenectady. Excuse me, work doesn't want to let me go. Albany, Rush is in Schenectady. And it's a little bit like, okay, but still, that's a 20-minute drive at max. So what happens is you stop caring about the premier side and you start caring about what your local club is doing. And then with promotion, if you get enough drive behind that local club, they can move their way up. Bournemouth, I mean, the Vitality Stadium is a stadium about the size of the stadium they're talking about putting in Albany, if it's even that big. So there's that aspect
12,
to
15.
it.
Yeah.
The other point I'd like to make is, Brian, if the Dolphins drop down a league next year, you're really telling me you're not watching them?
No, yeah, I would.
I feel like everyone makes like relegation isn't that the team is taken out back and shot. It's just that they're not at the top level anymore.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
See, we get that though. But if from a casual standpoint, people are going to be like, oh, well, I guess they're terrible now and there's no chance in coming back up. So I think the adjustment for those people are going to take a little bit longer to buy into.
It is a big trade-off, to be sure, because I do think people will be reluctant. But like you said, Rhett, when I saw Worcester, I was like, oh, hell yeah. Like, that's, that's my local team. Like, I'm already ready to buy the merch. Like, let's go. Let's do this.
I think that's the way they need to sell it. If they sell it that way, it has a chance.
Yeah, no, I agree. Do you think this will actually happen? Right? I know you were a little saying that probably wouldn't before we started, but is that your stance?
It's complicated. If they do it correctly and they do it over the course of a decade, yes, absolutely. I think if you get the local buy-in, absolutely. If they try to start competing with the MLS right now, they're just going to get destroyed. Even if they have the funds, which I don't think they do. You know, the old meme, I don't think you have the facilities for that, big man. You don't. Even if they try, they're going to get out-lawyered. I mean, half the MLS teams are owned by NFL owners. Say what we will about them. These guys know how to spend money.
They know how to litigate, too.
Yeah, it's not what we want to do. So I think it absolutely could work, but it's going to be something that our children see the benefit of, not us.
Yeah, it's got to be real grassroots.
Yeah.
That's how this starts.
Well, Aaron, anything to add to that?
I'm actually on the opposite side of the fence. I don't think this gets... So I think it'll start, but I think it'll collapse within a few years. I just don't think there's going to be too many people behind the idea of a promotion relegation. They want to see the standard stuff, what they like, what they know, and I just don't see the promotion relegation working. It's like the NASL. It was around. It came around again in the mid 2000s and for a couple seasons or so, and they couldn't survive.
But what's changed between now and then is NBC spends billions of dollars to just show the Premier League.
That's true.
Americans are now used to the idea. When we've seen what happened with St. Louis and with Salt Lake in the MLS, the USL probably looked at that and said, we can do that other places. We need to go after it. I mean, Orlando City, another one. And everyone talks about how Orlando's not a sports town. But Orlando City FC shows up. So it's yes and no.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to it. I'm certainly going to support, like we said, the local team. And, if we can maybe even figure out ways to cover the Albany team, to cover the Worcester team, to get maybe some access to help this league grow. I truly do believe, soccer in the United States is like a future gold mine. I do think it will take off eventually. So I'm excited to cover it all with you guys as it all unfolds.
All right, looking forward to it.
Hell yeah.
Anything you guys want to plug before you get on out of here?
Yeah, we're doing Swinging at Shins again.
Yeah.
Took a little bit of a hiatus. Took a little bit of a hiatus. I got promoted again. Everyone was sick the entire month of January. We've been incredibly busy.
Yeah. That's everyone in the world was sick.
We hired help. His name's Brian. We have more Brian now, so Brian's going to help us.
Get enough.
We're gonna get back on. So.
Excellent. So always the top link in the description, Swinging Shins. Please go follow them there. And thank you guys so much for your time.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, man.
Hey everyone, welcome back to At the Buzzer. I'm joined by Ryan. Ryan, how you doing?
Brian, I'm doing well overall as an NBA fan. A little disappointed right now, but
yeah.
Yeah.
So we're here to talk about the news that just broke. Victor Wembanyama is now out for the season with deep vein thrombosis. So we were looking at, because listen, we're two idiots with a microphone.
I know a lot about deep vein thrombosis. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm actually going to be able to break this down and tell you, because you looked it up on the WebMD and read a bit about it to me.
Yep. So for those of you who maybe aren't like Ryan and don't know, deep vein thrombosis is a blood clot for Victor Wembanyama. They found it in his shoulder after the All-Star break, and it can cause pulmonary embolism. That's if the blood clot gets into the lungs. Taller people are more susceptible to it. Victor Wembanyama, he's pretty tall, so it makes sense that something like this might happen. So obviously the Spurs want to take precautions, with one, their star player, two, just like a man's life, want him to have a pulmonary embolism. But let's talk about this from the basketball perspective. How badly does this hurt the Spurs going forward?
Well, I mean, after the season, it's everything for the Spurs, more or less. That being said, I'm going to say something because I just thought of this. It tends to happen when, obviously the Spurs are built around Wemby right now, 100%, right? Everything they have done is to kind of create this team around the nucleus of Wemby. And, even the players who came in before him, many which have actually Devin Vassell, Keldon Johnson, who are actually kind of like primary options who have faded into, faded more and more into being different types of role players. Devin Vassell, less so, but even them, they were kind of you could tell they were looking to kind of revolve around a star, right? And Wemby was that. When this type of injury tends to happen with a player like this, say for instance, I think of John Morant, when John Morant has been out, people always are very quick to cite that the Grizzlies have in many cases performed better without him or about the same. That being said, they had ties, as a couple years ago when this would go on, they'd be like, oh, is anyone looking at this? They had Tyus Jones as the best back, who was the best backup point guard at the time in the NBA. But also, I do think sometimes when you take a player like that out and then you have all these guys who sure they fit a role, but they're all very talented. They tend to step up and, some of them can overperform what we would perceive they'd be capable of, right? So as a result, they end up doing pretty good for a little bit. So that is possible that like some of these guys we see step up, perform a little more. They could be scrappy. I mean, they've made some serious moves around Wemby. Stephon Castle is going to be a really good player. De'Aaron Fox, we know he has no problem being the guy and just driving the ball and scoring. So it works for him.
Well, I think he'll be doing that quite a lot the rest of the season.
Yeah, which is honestly kind of unfortunate because it seems like overall it's been a pretty good fit. But it's like, then he's going to have time with this team. Without Wemby, he's going to feel like his team a little bit. So it's just going to be an adjustment. But I'm not going to read into that. I'm going to assume, they're going to take it, all the steps they need to kind of ease back in. It definitely stinks for the Spurs, but it's not the end of the world. It's the only thing is like I could think where they're going to be potentially competitive this year. What are they in like? They're a playing team right now. I think place wise, I think maybe they could win a playing game.
They are currently 23-29 and the 12th team in the Western Conference.
Yeah, it's not, but it's possible that they could be a playing team, win a playing game. I don't know. Everyone is going to say like, oh, with Wemby, you never know. I think the logistics of them, best absolute case scenario with Wemby, if they all had developed by the end of the year, I think maybe they win a first round. I think depending on the matchup, I don't necessarily know if that happens, but right, it does stink that you might miss out on that because you would have had a really good opportunity to get Wembanyama and the rest of the guys some reps, and is it impossible that it happens now? No, it's not impossible. Obviously, it's highly unlikely. They could really struggle without him. We'll see, but regardless, it's like you're missing your centerpiece. So any experience you get, it's not as applicable, right? Because like everything is going to continue to go around Wemby, and obviously he's just such a I can't think of the word right now. He has such like a there's such a huge presence, right? Mercurial, presence where it's just like, he just like has so much gravity. It's going to be crazy without him. It's completely different. But that being said, I do think that there are ways the Spurs can handle it for now where they can kind of stay on their feet. I think if you're the Spurs, you just hope that he's able to recover safely and he comes back next year, right? And if that's the case, it's more than worth it. You don't want to risk a serious injury.
Yeah, and I mean, especially when you get talking about like blood clots and stuff like this, where it's like, this is way beyond just like basketball. Like,
that's where it's surprising because we could talk a lot about like the tall guy injuries, right? Like it's a huge risk with taller guys, right? There's even been theories out there that Wemby's actually taller than he's listed. Like a lot of guys have been, like Kevin Durant, Kevin Garnett, Bill Walton, some of them for image, right? Some for positions. But what I've heard about, some people have said that Wemby could be as tall as 7'6", but that he is listed at 7'3" because that is the absolute like tallest that has been functional in the NBA, right? Because like, and I do think there are people where if you're like, if you're any taller than that, I might have some concerns, like in your ability to stay healthy. We've seen like Embiid, where Embiid struggled, right? With injuries, obviously. And Chet, Chet is out a lot already. We hope that doesn't continue throughout his career. And there's been other guys, and there's been other tall guys like Greg Oden. I mean, different type of big, but like I think Greg Oden was pretty good. It's unfortunate, the whole him and Kevin Durant thing, but I don't think you can consider him a bust at all. I think he was a pretty good big for that time. He just unfortunately was super injury prone with his size and his weight. The fact that Shaq, he's an anomaly in a lot of ways.
He's like, and I'm just going to do whatever I want. I'm not going to train that hard and I'll be fine. And he was.
And so, yeah, and like I mean, he's just so big and like right, like massive.
Yeah, not only tall, but just like a huge guy.
Yeah, and but like you look at old pictures of him, it was more just like Bill, right? And he was just like a right, and the way he played with so much physicality and so much athleticism for that size too. Yeah, it's insane. But so you do see that with tall guys, but this isn't one of those injuries, right? Apparently blood clots are more common with taller people. It would make sense, right? Being so abnormally tall, yeah, there could be some risks with being that, right? Because like obviously he's got an incredible body, like an incredible human body. Like it's very different than the rest. It's right. There's a reason he's called the alien, right? He's we're charting
literally like
so
0.1% of like all humans in history.
So it makes sense. There would maybe like be some additional risks, complications. And I think what we also know about Wemby is he's just so locked in. I cannot stress this enough. Like this guy is such a consummate professional. I had been kind of looking in, obviously huge basketball fan. So when I you heard about how big he's going to be. I'd been following him for quite some time, and I knew it sounded like he was going to be a great fit for Popovich, right? And that proved to be the case like 10 times over. He says all the right things. He cares. He makes all the right choices. I think he actually goes in early to all of his games and like reads. Have you heard about that one? Like he'll sit and just like read a book.
Yeah, I saw Jokic was poking fun at him during the All-Star game. Like, like, what are you doing? Just reading? Seems very, Jokic to be doing that.
Yeah, meanwhile, it's like everyone's doing workouts and he's like, hey, you see a picture of my new horse?
Which, fair, fun. I'm sure that's a great time to learn all about his horses.
Oh, I also don't know if you saw, there's a Netflix documentary on actually the Olympics for basketball. Did you see that?
I've seen it. I haven't watched the documentary yet.
I started watching it. Very good so far. I would absolutely recommend it. It's really cool and it covers all of the teams. Obviously, so far, I definitely have seen more of USA. I would guess maybe that's the case, but France is very heavily featured and the other teams are all featured as well. And I haven't seen it yet, but I was thinking I wouldn't be surprised if Jokic isn't interviewed in it because like they approach me just like, no, I'm done. Like no more. He's
absolutely
not. Because I think if you did watch him this summer, you kind of got the vibe. He was just like, I'd rather be home.
He had 2 long summers of playing basketball in a row.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah. He had the championship. The year before. And he knows, right? And he's been incredible this year, as always. His stats are insane.
So insane. All right. Well, anything else you want to add on this one before we get out of here?
No, just that, I know this is kind of one of the things that can kind of deter people with the NBA is like the injuries. I would just say that this is not one we saw coming. It's very unfortunate. We're very blessed, honestly, that Wemby hadn't been injured up to this point, but right, I think it's going to be worth it. I think, like I said, Wemby is so locked in, and I think because of his height and they know, and just his own awareness, and Popovich's, I would and assume the whole team's like willingness to just like try to work out any kink to ensure like optimal success for him and the team. I really think they're really like honed in on like making sure he's as healthy as possible. That's probably why they were able to detect this. It's probably, if I had to guess, very early on, and they're being 100% as like cautious as possible, right? Like they're taking the furthest, the furthest cautions needed to ensure that he stays healthy and can play a full career. So I would just say, I don't think this is anything to be stressed about. I don't think it's like, like how people have tended to with other players be like, oh, this is this long chain of injuries. It's a blood clot. Like we don't really know if it's indicative of anything. They're just being very cautious because, again, this is probably the greatest prospect the NBA has ever seen.
It's the future of the league.
And like I said, I don't know if the hype you remember we were kids with LeBron. It's I mean, Wemby is just something else physically, right? Like as a prospect, the one obviously we weren't alive during it, but like the stories you hear about Kareem Abdul-Jabbar just in terms of what a different type of player he was. And for sure LeBron is that too, but I just mean it just puts into context, like, right, this guy is the absolute future of the league. Like they got to secure the bag.
No, definitely. Anything you want to promote?
Yeah, I think we got a few other recent podcasts on here. If you didn't check out the All-Star game or dunk contest and would like to, you could check those out. We also are starting to do some baseball. Yep. Yeah. Baseball podcast, me, Brian, and Rhett. It was a lot of fun. I'm hoping we're going to continue to do that. So please check that out. Look out for it.
We definitely will.
More stuff. That's about all I got, Brian.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for your time today. And we'll see you all in the next segment. Hey, everybody, welcome back to Power Play. I'm joined, as always, Chris Umitski. Chris, how you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, Brian. How are you doing?
Doing quite well. Excited to talk a little bit about the Four Nations tournament and the game against Canada from Team USA's perspective, of course.
Yes.
We're Americans, for better or worse. So, Chris, what'd you see out there? What'd you think? What'd you think of the anthem getting booed, the fights, the final score? Take it away.
I mean, Canadians have been booing the national anthem for as long as I can remember, at least when I watch like the Bruins play the Leafs or whatever. But
right.
I have nothing to say about the anthem. If you really want to know what I think about that, you can go ahead and follow me on social media.
Yeah, right.
But as far as the game is concerned, it had everything that you could ask for as a hockey fan. It was fast paced. The officials were letting them play, which was nice. There were, checks notes here, 3 fights in the first 10 seconds of the game.
Yeah, that was crazy. I didn't expect that. I didn't realize that the animosity was felt on the players' side as well. But, they really went down to the mat immediately. It was exciting.
Oh, yeah. Well, like, this is why this is so much better than an all-star break, because, like, these players actually care about these games. They're playing for their countries.
Yeah,
and I guess there has
probably no fights in an all-star game, right?
Yeah. So it was good. Canada was missing Cale Makar, which is a big piece. But Connor McDavid only scored once, and then from there it was just Team USA just dominated the second and third periods.
So how do you feel about them coming out of this game and their potential to win this tournament? Especially with some news that we saw.
Well, I'm feeling pretty good about Team USA. I told you a while ago, like, we have a stacked lineup. We got the Tkachuk brothers, which, yay. We love those Tkachuks.
Hey, friends of the, Ryan's family is friends with the Tkachuks. So, like, friends of the show, kind of.
Right. And you know what? I love having guys like Matthew and Brady Tkachuk on my team.
Right.
For the same reason that I'm sure they love having Brad Marchand on Team Canada. Yeah. And we got Austin Matthews too. We got some really great goaltending. Jeremy Swayman and who even was the starter the other night? He didn't really get much job. But overall, I think that we are going to play a more physical game than Canada is. Canada might have more finesse, and maybe they're the odds-on favorites, owing only to the fact that they're Canada.
Right.
But yeah, I'm expecting another physical game. More players getting hurt.
Yeah. So do you want to talk about that at all?
Yeah, I suppose we have to. A big piece of Team USA is, of course, Bruins defenseman Charlie McAvoy. He played a huge part. He was physical. He was getting in fights on the other night. But as a part of that, he hurt himself. I saw some sort of a shoulder injury that got infected.
Oh,
He's at Mass General right now. So he's not even going to be there for the final, which is going to be at TD Garden in Boston.
it's unfortunate, but I guess if you got to be at a hospital, Mass General is a pretty good one. So, yeah.
Yep. I
Silver
mean,
lining.
Boston has the best hospitals in the world. You can't really go wrong there with any of the hospitals.
Listen, when David Ortiz got shot in the Dominican Republic, they flew him to Boston for medical. So, shoulder injury, piece of cake. Hopefully he'll be, all right there.
Yeah, I hope so. I'm really looking forward to what's coming up though.
Yeah. Do you have a prediction?
I think Team USA is gonna be up. It's gonna be a closer game. I think it's gonna be 4-2.
All right, 4-2. That'll be very exciting. Should that happen? Anything else you want to talk about before we get on out of here for tonight?
Nope. I think that's it. I don't want to talk about the Bruins.
Okay, not talking about the Bruins right now. Chris, where can they find you online? Anything you want to promote? Floor is yours.
Best spot to find me is probably these days on TikTok at Chris Uminski for as long as that's going to be around.
Right.
I am on Blue Sky also at Chris Uminski. I am on X for the time being still, just waiting for Elon to ban me.
Right, as we all are. Waiting for the hammer.
And go follow my band, Basics Plus. We have some music out. We're actually getting played on the radio.
Ooh,
on Long Island and the outer boroughs of New York City a week from today on Wednesday. Go check that out. I'll have details on my socials.
Well, that's very exciting. Congratulations. Very proud of you for that. That's awesome, man.
Thanks,
yeah, no, hey, so I kind of, see myself as the father of all the wicked get everything people. Oh, man. All right. Well, Chris, thank you so much for your time tonight.
All right. Thank you.
And we'll see you all in the next one. Thank you so much for checking out the show. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe. We, love doing the show for you, love doing all these segments. We hope that you've been enjoying it too. And we really appreciate everyone who checks out the individual segments and the longer show each and every week. We have, of course, our website, wikieverythingsports.com. Our main channel is Wiki Get Everything, where we cover nerd and pop culture news. We also have Those Fake Nerds and our podcasting channel, Better Radio, where we have all of our podcasts that don't have to do with sports. If any of those interest you, please check them out. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you have a great weekend. We'll be back in case there's any craziness that happens in the sports world with individual segments. But if not, we will see you on Monday.